Respected resource person and my dear students, very good morning to one and all. I deem it a privilege to welcome you all for the webinar hosted by the Entrepreneurship Development Wing of Computer Science and Engineering Department. The session will be handled by Mr. S. Vignesh Kandasamy, Tarar Geospatial Analytics, Tirunelveli. He is the young entrepreneur and have formed a base to solve the local problems, which helps to improve the livelihood of the people. He'll give insight about the emerging trend in the remote sensing area. We are indeed happy to have you among us, sir. I hand over the session to Mr. Vignesh. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the intro. And thank you, Mr. Isaac Muthu, sir, for inviting me and SCAD for letting me to tell about geospatial analytics. And shall I share the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Uh, it's like I framed this session as like to give an intro about geospatial industry and application, then something about entrepreneurship in geospatial, and finally for some course content where you can, if you're interested, how to check those things. Uh, Geospatial technology is like if you it's like basically it started for mapping. It's completely about mapping everything. So it has category like positioning where GPS and GNSS everything comes in there. And next, once you have a positioning system, next comes mapping. You may know for digitization. So once the plan for digitization is done, then you do spatial analysis. So this another one category. Then Earth observation comes where remote sensing plays a major role. Then last one is 3D scanning, where photogrammetry of 3D will come, and lidar. This is like this is a lidar. What here they are basically doing is like they are mapping a bridge completely. So once they map the bridge, they know at this particular time how much water is logged in this bridge and how much age this bridge will sustain. So these kinds of things, 3D scanning will be used. So these are the major categories where geospatial technology fit in. Spatial information is like if any data you have, if you are adding an attribute information, like whatever attribute information you're adding latitude, longitude, it comes into your geospatial information. So it has a classification like vector data and raster data. Here, see, if you have a real world image where the features of building is represented as a polygon and road is represented line. This is a general vector information. Whereas if same thing which is taken from a satellite image or photo like aerial photography, we have this called raster image, and each gridded cells will have latitude, longitude plus a digital number in it. So this is an raster data. So this is the basically two kinds of data which we deal with in geospatial industry. So here, like the major application which we have for GIS, it's like there are many applications. Whatever you can see, if you can map it, it comes in geospatial. But some of the few applications like health GIS, where in Corona time you might have seen lots of maps in television for Tamil Nadu and throughout India. That's all basic work for health GIS. With that, what they will do is like they will find the hotspot area and the likelihood of next hotspot area with predictive analysis. Those sort of works will come in health GIS. And network analysis, like Uber is a best example for network analysis. And yeah, Google Maps, it's a very good product for network analysis. Second thing is like if we have like we say utility network. It is nothing but pipeline networks or electric lines. These sort of things we can map, and we can make that more optimized so that the amount of money spent on that will be reduced. It is like how to optimize these kinds of lines. And that thing is like crime analysis. This is a very good field, but many very less amount of people work on this. It's like say, for example, in Chennai or in Tambaram, there is some snatching happened, or in OM or some suicide happened. What they will do is like they will map everything in the they will plot everything in the map. Once everything is done, you will get a hotspot of those area. So once the hotspot is done, there will be likelihood of chances within a 1 year duration where the next event will take place. So those kinds of things will be taken care in crime analysis. And this will be very interesting field for showing a real world application to cybercrime or normal city development. And fourth thing is a 3D building analysis. Here it's like what all data we are using, like a point line, polygon, everything is a 2D data. 3D data comes with you want to create a building and you want to fetch attribute information for the buildings. So now the building will be like more intelligent. Now whatever you can do, if say the example, you want to have a solar panel in your building and the next building shadow falls on your building, you can find what is the potential solar energy you will get. So at what time the things will be higher and what time things will be lower. This is one example, but many things you can do with 3D building analysis. And supply chain management, it's like Zomato, Uber, not Uber, Zomato and Swiggy, those things, what they do basically, same thing. And coming into remote sensing, it's like remote sensing, the basic terminology of remote sensing is like you should not go to the field and you want to know the information in the particular field. That is like without going to the field, you are getting those information. Here we basically use satellite image processing. So our main source of energy will be sun. The sun's energy hit the target, and that reflects or scattered energy will be recorded in the sensor. Once satellite comes to a particular point, that data will be downlinked and it will be pre-processed, like level 1, level 2, level 3. And with those levels, we will do the analysis. This is the general overview of remote sensing. Remote sensing in TEM will have a classification like passive remote sensing and active remote sensing, where passive sun will be a source of energy. And in active, the satellite itself will have the energy source. So it emits its energy and the scattered energy will record in the satellite. It is for imaging. So these are the basics of remote sensing, and I have some application, and for each application I have some case studies. Weather forecasting is like this is a common field, everybody understand easily. It's like we have weather forecasting reports. Same thing, satellite gives images. With that images, they will predict what is the rainfall and wind temperature, pressure, everything they will give in weather forecast. In agriculture is I worked in Satyuk Analytics previously. It is in Bangalore, and it is one of the agri remote sensing company. What they basically do is like they give soil moistures to. It is a B2B company, business to business company. So we create soil moistures in that company, and we give to some other company. So they will use for their analysis, and that company will give to the farmers. So this is how the whole business structure will be there. One of the field where lots of startups and lots of players are there in agri remote sensing, because it is like large number of customers are there, like large number of farmers are there, so they can get a huge amount of revenue. Third thing is like disaster mapping. This usually government does this, but they are encouraging private players to map accurately and give in real time. And urban monitoring, most NGOs prefer for urban monitoring for tree plantation, so they knows which area is getting more affected and what they want to do next. Defense, like one of this geospatial technology and remote sensing, everything started with defense. They send these things to monitor enemy lines and enemy buildings. That later grew tremendously, and then the application of everything starts. In fact, even in agriculture, what NASA did is like in early 70s. It's like now we are using much about agriculture in India, but in late 70s itself they started remote sensing in agriculture to monitor the country wealth. So they map everything, and for example, you can take China, US. What they do is like they monitor the complete China agriculture industry, and they find how much amount of food they have. So what type of strategy need to they take, and what is their wealth? Everything they can do with in defense itself. Coastal monitoring. Coastal monitoring comes like marine monitoring and coral reef monitoring, sea surface monitoring, those kind of things, and infrastructure assessment is normal work. So here comes like agriculture. See, in every agri industry, what they want is like they want to know type of crop through satellite images. If you have an image, see in the top right, this is an image where each color denotes a type of crop. So this is Netherlands. So they have mapped the complete Netherlands to know which. This is a particular time duration. It's not throughout the year. It is like they take for 3 to 4 months, and they comes to know what type of crop was grown in this 3 to 4 months. So first thing, it's crop identification. Second thing is like once you have the crop identification and you know from March to June, this is the crop is grown and this time duration, then with that we can find with some other parameters we want to include, but we can find crop yield estimation. Crop yield is like this is gives the intent gives the amount of export or import or the country's agriculture expenditure, everything we can determine with this crop yield itself. And soil mapping, this is vital for everything. Once you have soil mapping, you can do many things. Once you have soil mapping and soil moisture, you can determine drought. There's a two type of drought: meteorological drought and agricultural drought. So you can determine the agricultural drought with this. And irrigation monitoring, it's like with soil moisture, what we'll do is like we know every crops required certain amount of water. Some crop requires higher, some crop requires lower. But in agriculture field, no one will care about this. Like they know this much amount of water, but not precise. So with irrigation monitoring, what they will do is like they will have satellite images for soil moisture. For this, you say for this particular green form, green crop type. For weekly ones, they will weekly twice, or nowadays they are giving daily. They will give a irrigation monitoring advisory. So what they will do is like your crop water is this much, like says example 0.5, and you are increasing above 0.7. So if you are following this trend, they are like 1 week your crop is going to get damaged. If it is getting lesser, they can tell like your crop requires more water, you can irrigate more. So this sort of analysis they are giving in real time nowadays. Real time, the near real time, like within 6 hours durations. This is for a drought. With this have done with microwave images for soil moisture. In the time frame of 10th April to 10th May 2020. So this is a country of Czech Republic. So what this bar represents is like 0.1 is very less and 0.3 is very high. So this complete, now we can understand with this map where the higher drought is there and where lower drought is there, and what amount of drought is seen. Why this data is helpful is like this data usually goes to government, and the government what they will do is like, okay, this Paraguay region is highly affected. So what now they will ask what all crops is there in this time frame. It's going to affect anyhow. So they want to give relief fund. So now if the Paraguay government asks this much amount of crop is getting affected, they will verify with this satellite images. So once they verify, they will release a fund. So this is how they will do, and we can predict drought also, but not to a certain limit. We can predict drought. So third thing is like flood. Flood. It's like 2 to 3 things government needs flood data. One thing is like for for the respond team, like emergency response team, drought map is needed, like flood map is needed. Second things like flood assessment report, how much damage is happened. For these two things, it is highly needed, because once flood is, this a normal course of river. I think so. It is uh, Gantak River. Okay, this river during its flooding time, it was the river bank was widened completely. So what all crops and what all settlement, like human settlement areas there, everything is going to affect it. So in near real time, these maps will help for emergency response team to where to act fast and where the damage is higher. Second things like for government, same thing. They want to know how much amount of cost is damaged, so they can release a fund. And even World Bank ask these kinds of thing to, if the what the government is doing, government will release a fund. If the damage is very high, they will go for World Bank. So World Bank, what they will do is like they will for internally they want to check. They do this sort of analysis. They usually give for consultancy. They do this sort of analysis, and with this they will assess. Okay, this much amount of money was lost. This much is government asked. Okay, we can release this much amount of money. So for these things, flood information is very helpful. And forest fire monitoring is similar kind of work, but one thing is like here we use thermal bands. Thermal bands helps to detect fire. So this how much amount of forest is getting lost, this kind of analysis we can make with this. And even species which how much amount of species going to get damaged, those sort of analysis can be done with this forest fire monitoring. And urban expansion, this is like done with in Chennai, and this is in 1991 LLC map. With 1991, it comes to know 2000 how much difference is there. With 2003, you comes to know 2016 how much difference is there, how much urban body is getting enlarged. So with this collective data, we can find in next 10 years how the expansion will be there. It will be it is not, it is damn sure this much amount of buildup will be there, but it is a probability. So this much amount of probability buildup will be there in next 10 years. And another one thing in urban is like nowadays the urban heat island is like a very good topic to discuss, where at night time and daytime how much amount of heat is trapped inside urban. Usually night time, urban heat island comes usually night time and daytime both. But nowadays they are using urban heat island map to plant trees. So if the particular area is heavily affected by heat at night, what they will do is like they are taking those particular, focusing those particular area through this kind of data and started planting trees. So this is an urban application. And water quality, one field you want to have lots of basic understanding is water quality field. Previous everything field, you come, if you know about remote sensing, you can work directly. But water quality is like it is, everything's indirect. We can't tell the particular water quality directly, but indirectly we can assume this is how the water quality is getting damaged. So this is a wider field where even coastal water you can check, lake quality you can check. With water quality, how much coral reef is getting affected, those kind of analysis you can now check. And this one is like air quality monitoring, where in corona time, during corona time, this is a trend in China, Wuhan city. You can see it's clearly without air pollution, the city is very clear. This intent tells the city is locked down, city is locked, and there is no transportation is there. Comparatively for 2019, it was heavily polluted. So this sort of analysis will tell you what's going on in this particular situation at that. And this is for India. It's like for 2019 and 2020. So you can see the difference in the data, and you can see where the higher pollution is there. This higher peak is thermal power plant. So even though the lockdown, thermal power plant was still runs. So these kinds of monitoring things can be done. And this line is maritime route. So with the NO2, they can detect maritime routes also. Another thing is like the WebGIS. It's like this is a pure. If a computer science guy need to jump into this field and want to earn a good amount of money, this is one field which helps you. It's like a basic web development, but here what you do is like you create maps in web, you say Google Maps. So we have different servers for it, different database for it, and we have some open source library for it. So with that, you can show the data, geographical data in the web itself. So basically, whatever you do, everything comes into web or Android application or iOS applications. So this kinds of field is very good for computer science students and who want to explore GIS and want to have fun, not going to deep research. This will help. And now comes into the industry oriented is like now industry is very good. Recent geospatial policy, they have tremendously improved many things. And this graph is not for India. This graph is for throughout the world, how the industry was there up to 2024. Okay. But this is a predictive predictions, everything's like we are in 2020 or 21. This this industry is like major thing about this industry is like you need to have a very good amount of networking. So one thing we'll deal with the government or very good big corporates, because they both want this kinds of data to expand their business. So networking is a major thing in the industry to start with in geospatial things. Satyakalities, where I worked previously, it's an agri remote sensing company, and Cropping is also an agri industrial company. They started with drone data. Now they are using all the data for remote sensing. And the Cropping is one thing about Cropping is like they works with Bill and Melinda Gates. So they work mainly in US and Africa, and they're very good players in agriculture. Chatsworth is similar agri remote sensing, but they do not only agri, everything. World Resource India, this is an NGO firm. This is like they are in many countries, like they are throughout the world. They're in lots of countries. They works in various domains, like whatever I have said, and apart from this, they work in all the domains. If someone you find in World Resource India, never leave them. Like they are a very good resource to take you to a next level. And near is like a WebGIS company. What they do is like for Near India, it is called actually. They do business insight, business analytics with geospatial data, and they use for next business. Like it is a B2B company. You give the data. If you are doing business, you give the data. They will analyze, and with some other data, they will give the insight to you. So this will in turn helps the revenue to get higher. Pixel is like a hyperspectral company. Now in remote sensing, what we have is like multispectral, hyperspectral, radar, lidar. There's a lots of things in remote sensing. Hyperspectral is a field is like emerging field because we don't have data, lots of data in hyperspectral. Real-time data we never get easily. This Pixel is a startup in Bangalore. They are about to launch the hyperspectral satellite in this month or next month, I think so. So once this satellite goes, it will take the image. With that image, if the image is good, they will pre-process everything and start to sell this image and find some application for it. Earth to orbit is similar to rest companies. So now comes things like how to start a business. This is not only for geospatial, for every business. It's like if you have an idea, validate this idea two to thrice or more than 10 times, whether it works. Then you need to be in reality that this is a major thing you want to do in business. We can many ideas will come to our mind, but the reality will be very different. We put enormous amount of time to create it, but in ground we can't sell it because there will be a smaller solution for it, and our cost will be higher. Ultimately, it's not going to end up. So this reality thing is a major thing which comes by experience. It's like almost comes with experience. You need to talk to many people or you need to talk with your professors to validate these ideas, or whoever you know in this industry, you want to speak to them, and you want negative, positive or negative, you want to get that feedback. Then only it comes to know what is reality. That thing is like implementation. You like nowadays, like we get lots of idea, but once we start to implement it, it will be very hard. We think we will finish it in 3 to 4 weeks, but if too many error comes, it's like it goes long. And if we can't solve it, we need to find the right person to solve it. So implementation is a major thing. Once you have a prototype, if you have a prototype, you get enormous amount of energy within you. Once a prototype is ready, that is ultimate thing. You can tell to anyone you have this prototype, and this how my idea is going to work. Now you can do whatever you want. So implementation is a major thing among 1, 2, and 3. And fourth thing is networking. This networking is the one thing is going to give you revenue. Unless you have a good amount of networking, your business is not going to move. So you want to speak to as many people as can, and you want to have lots of friends in the industry. If you don't have, you can get those friends through conference. You can go for workshops. In this type of area only you'll get friends. They will directly help you directly if you have a good idea, and it's going to scale very high. And there is one contradictory to this sort of these four things and this one. Like if you have an idea, it need to solve a problem. We or something, it can be fun also, but if it is solving a problem and that problem is in the industry for long and there lots of competition is there, then you want to fine tune your idea. So finding a problem and approaching to the problem is the best thing. Second thing is like know your customer. Without knowing your customer, you can't find your product. So ultimately, your customer is going to use the product. So from day one, you know the customer. You can fine tune slowly your product so that it end up well. And check the market depth. It's like if too many players in the industry and the market is healthy, you can step in. If the market is very fluctuated and for a year you have 4 months you get the revenue, and next 10 months or like next 8 months you doesn't have a revenue, it is like tedious for you. So check the market depth and start go for the product. And once you have everything, and even if you have a prototype, then apply in the government schemes. Government schemes is one thing nowadays. It's like it's going to help everyone who are thinking to start a business. Like even startup India has many schemes. So you directly want to go there, it will ask individuals, or you have a you already start a business and you have an idea and you have implemented, or you have your big companies, you have done everything, you are marketing those ideas. So it will classify you, and if you are an individual, you have an idea, you can directly apply it. What they will do is like they in a particular day they will ask you to pitch your idea. Once you are pitching is it's like an interview. You are giving you are selling your ideas to opposite person. What they will do, they will validate your idea is very good, and your idea is going to reach many people, or if your idea is going to employ many people, your idea is giving many revenue. These are the three things they will majorly check. If your idea is very good, they will give you fund. You don't want to do anything, they will give you fund, and with that fund you can hire peoples, and you can start to train them. You can create the product what you want. So startup scheme is the one thing you want to check for business. And startup funding is like this is a life cycle of any startup. It's like the initial day one, you step into office, and the time is like 8 to 12 months, the 1 year period. It is very hard to get revenue. In that time, if you have a team of 4 members with your friends, and things are not moving good, if we are not getting enough fund, enough money for monthly, or if you have no money, you can work for 3 months. But after 3 months, things is going to get a little complicated because everyone has their family. So this is a period of valley of death. If you are moving after this 8 to 12 months, if your startup is growing after that, it's going to go smoothly. But within this time, many startup fails. So in order to overcome these things, seed funding and seed capital is there. What they will do is like they will see your idea. If your idea is scaling up, even if you don't have any money to invest on it, if your idea is going to scale up, they will fund you. They will fund you to grow this business initially. So once the business is grown, now venture capital steps in. What VCs do, they will check your idea, they will check your product. If it is scalable, if it is going to reach lots of customers, they will slowly dump their money. They have lots of money. VCs have very lots of money. So they will dump their money slowly, and that's it. Your startup will grow slowly. But who are giving you money, they in turn expect something. So if they are giving some money, they will expect 5x or 10x from what they invest. So this major life cycle of a startup funding will be, financing will be there. And some key terminology which you want to know is like incubation. It's like once you step into government schemes, what they will do is like that directly catch you with your incubator. They will ask you to find your incubator. What this incubator do is like the incubator train you. If you doesn't have a marketing skill, they will train you in marketing skill. They will have lots of network contacts, so they will give their contacts to you. Even if you doesn't have a proper technology background, they will from the industry leaders, they will ask you to collaborate, and even they will train you. So the incubation is like they will keep you in correct temperature to grow. And venture capital is like for long term potential. Venture capital is very good. And bootstrap startup is something like you don't want to go for any investment. Don't want to seek any investment. Then from outside, then you have your own investment. You started something. You are getting some revenue. With that revenue itself, small, you are building your own startup. That is bootstrap startup. Without any outside investment, you are making your own startup. One good example of bootstrap startup is Zogo. Zogo done same way. Without any outside investment, they grow. So this general thing, and Startup India, you can check government website Startup India, and there is departments of science and technology. They have lots of call for proposal, and if you're planning for MSME, small and medium thing, they have lots of funds in it. So we can check the government website first. Lots of schemes will be there, but these schemes will not be throughout the year. They will place for 3 months or 4 months. You want to apply within those 3 months. So with that 3 month duration, whoever will apply, they will interview for them. So like this only it will go. Some funding will be like throughout the year, but many funding will be like they have a proper time slot. So if you guys are interested in geospatial industry and want to know how to approach these kinds of data, and some basic things we want to know, it is not mandatory, but some basic things, if it is there, it is good for growing startup. Either of these three things, physics, statistics, or programming, you need to be good at. Any one, it's enough. We can be always good at all the things, but anyone, if you're good at it, we can go ahead with it. So Python or JavaScript is mandatory. JavaScript is for WebGIS, R and Python for analytics, data analytics, I think. And Google Earth Engine, if you want to do some research and you don't want to think about data, how to get data, Google Earth Engine is the best thing. Even for your academic final thing, you can do things with Google Earth Engine. Google Earth Engine has a good amount of documentation, so it is very good to learn Google Earth Engine, because after some point of time, many NGOs like now AT is working with Google Earth Engine. Many NGOs started working with Google Earth Engine. It's like the one big hurdle in geospatial industry is like collecting data. That to remote sensing data, you can't go find everything continuously, and you want to download everything and pre-process everything. These sort of thing, it's like I told in 2 seconds or 3 seconds, but it takes more 60 to 70% of our work time. You want to do these things. Google can done everything and place it. You can directly go there and you can do the analytics what you want. And if you are interested in this field and you are planning to learn this field more, you can go and check for online learning. Like RSAT is like NASA. NASA, they have 15 courses yearly in various fields like vegetation, forestry, air quality. You can just go and see this website. They have lots of things. Anyone can apply to it. Even very beginners can apply to it. They give certificate if you attend 3 days. It's like 1 or 2 hour section at night will be there. They'll have usually 3 to 4 days. If you have done like that, they will give certificate. That certificate will be valuable. So to understand the basics of that particular field. And European Space Agency has lots of tutorials. If you want to explore their data, you can use this. And IARS, it's an ISRO unit. This is where I studied, and they have e-learning courses. This is paid one and free one is also there, but this will give you very good understanding of this industry. It is like even 1 month course is there, and Coursera is always like paid one, but they will give you 1 or 2 months or 3 months courses. Regarding masters, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing best they say. They don't have any placement there, but it is the best. You will get good amount of research experience there. IIT Bombay is like the best. Next, Anna University Chennai also have, and IITs in Netherlands is like if we are applying from down south, we have lots of scholarships there, so you can apply even they may fund completely also, or 80% of fund they may fund for scholarship. So these are the things you can check. Thank you. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Any questions?
Thank you, sir, for having spared your valuable time amidst us.
Thank you.
And we had a wonderful session and we gained insight regarding geospatial analytics. Thank you once again, sir. And the participants' feedback form will be sent to you shortly for certification.